Welcome to another episode of HG, Third Culture Kid, where I, the Third Culture Kid, share my thoughts, experiences, and conversations. I'm here today with John. How are you doing,
Hi,
John?
I'm
We had a
doing
long
great.
conversation a little bit before this as we were trying to get through some technical issues, but how have you been doing?
I've been doing very well.
Really? Are you just saying that
Uh,
because it's just a
yeah, I'm
response you're
just saying
saying?
that. Yeah,
Okay. You,
it's
you
not
and
like anything good comes out of me saying, "Yeah, I've been doing horrible."
I
No, but
people
I've
should
been
be
doing
more
pretty good.
genuine about that. Is there an equivalent phrase in Korean where we go
Being
like,
more genuine.
no, it was like, so how are you doing? Is there like an equivalent question that prompts a conversation?
잘 지냈어요? 아니면 뭐,
Just,
뭐
oh,
하고
I see.
지냈어요? Or
Oh, I
밥
see.
먹고 다니냐?
And then people generally say like, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I chattiness. So you and I both lived in Brazil for different periods of time. And really today's podcast episode was meant to talk about our experiences, our thoughts, uh, yeah, just our memories of living in Brazil.
Mm.
So to go into that, why don't we first share like a background, like a first like how long we've lived there, why we were
Oh,
there,
okay.
briefly, like 2 to 3 sentences, and then we can get into some of the topics. But do you want to go first or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I went to Brazil around like 2005. I'm actually not too sure, but I lived there about a little more than 4 years. It was in like the last quarter of seventh grade that I had to go to Brazil, and my parents' career took me there.
Mhm.
Overall, I had a very nice experience. I really enjoyed Brazil. I'm not sure if this was because of Brazil in particular or because I was at that teenage year when everything was a little more interesting and I had made some good friends there. So I actually have really good memories of Brazil. So
Mm,
it may be a little different from people who like experienced life in Brazil in like a different time in their life.
yeah. And then you left Brazil
Oh, I left
around
in 2008.
2008. Oh, so you were only
Yeah.
there for 3 years
Oh
ish.
shit, then I must have been there in 2004 then, because I remember it was like 4.5 years I was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
4.5 years. Oh, considering it wasn't that long. Cool. So that's your experience
Yep.
in Brazil. I moved to Brazil when I was two, and I lived there for 16 years
Wow.
until all the way to the end of my high school, and then I went to attend college. So that's my experience. The reason I was there, like you, my parents' career took my life there, and I don't have a choice when I'm 2 years old.
Yeah.
And it definitely formed a big part of my identity. But my dad decided to start a company in Brazil, and yeah, I lived my entire childhood there. So that's my experience.
Just add like one more thing. Did you see it as like a positive experience overall, or like is it a little?
Oh,
It's probably harder for you because you
net,
lived so much more longer than
yeah,
me.
net wise, I think it was a positive experience. Probably
Net
added,
positive.
yeah, some interesting personality traits for me. I think that I wouldn't have gotten if I stayed in Korea or maybe even the States. So yeah, I think it was overall a positive. If you value uniqueness, I think it did add some unique personality traits. Honestly, quite frankly speaking, I think if I lived in Korea, I probably would have been much less interesting. Um, Maybe personality traits and a personality that you might find this might be controversial, but honestly, a personality that might feel similar to the population or people that I don't know how to phrase this, but I think it would have been more
No, I know. I
bland.
get what you mean. Like, um, I came from America straight from. I think when I came to Brazil, my personality or the culture I identified was not with Korean. It was definitely more with American. But
Yeah.
if I think back on it, I think I it's just maybe this may sound like I'm like kind of becoming like a little condescending towards American culture or something, but I feel like well for one, it definitely added more diversity to how I view things. But I think it gave me more perspective on accepting of cultures. I think if I hadn't gone to Brazil, I don't
Yeah.
think I would have wanted to live in Korea. I think if I just stayed in America the whole time throughout my elementary to high school and just went to college there, I would never have, wanted to like even consider moving abroad or like going to a different country.
And you're considering Korea a country that's abroad,
Yeah, when I was in the States, when I was in like middle
and
school, I
because you
considered
didn't
Korea a country that was abroad, like because I had so little
little
memories of it. I was
experience.
only there for like elementary, like not even elementary. I was there for preschool. So,
Yeah,
and then I think the experiences I had in Brazil, they made me a little more open towards, living in Korea. And in
really.
the end, I enjoyed it. I enjoy living in Korea right now. So,
Wow, I did. Wow,
and I
it's
think,
interesting.
yeah, so I think living in the States for me would have made me much more limited in my, perception of how I view the world or
Yeah, because
how
there's a
I.
lot of like Asian Americans in the States. I don't know where you live, but in the States there's a lot of Asian Americans. But in Brazil, there was I don't think there was as many like Korean American Brazilians like you, or no, the number was fewer too.
The biggest difference I felt when I lived in the States was, I mean, there was definitely Koreans, Chinese, and Japanese, but they were very Americanized. Like they were literally Asian Americans. Like they weren't Korean, they weren't Chinese, they weren't like they were more
They're
American
Americans.
than their, heredity than their, ethnic counterpart, right? But
Yeah,
then when I in Brazil, there were people who came straight from Korea, right?
yeah, yeah.
And then so they or were more Korean, and they probably were more foreign to me than that blonde kid like that's sitting next to me, right? So that was actually it's weird in a weird way. I think I learned more about Korea and Brazil, and it opened up a
Right,
little more
because it
about
came
that.
straight from
Yeah,
Korea.
yeah.
Yeah,
And in
yeah,
America, I don't know why, but I had this. It's like there was this part of me, maybe it was because I was young or something, that
yeah.
I was like not ashamed, but I wanted to fit in into American society so much that I really opted not to speak Korean and like stuff like that when I was like first went there. And maybe it was
Uh,
because the atmosphere in our school system in Brazil was a little more international, that I didn't feel that need as much when I was there. But that feeling was a little more prevalent when I was in the States studying,
hmm.
that I need to fit into this American,
Yeah, I think
society
maybe
thing.
by the you didn't go into international school in the States,
Yeah, I went to a public school. Yeah.
but not international school in the States, right?
Yeah, it was always
It
public
was
school.
public
Like there
school.
was
Yeah. Maybe that's
40.
it too. Because you and I both went to international school, and it's like diversity is uh it's like you live it. Like
Yeah,
everybody
exactly.
around you is
Yeah.
different and they celebrate quite a bit too. I don't know, like the core identity of our school was being diverse. It was an international school. So
Which is
maybe that's
ironic because when
a
I was in
part
the
of it.
States, we always talked about, oh, how the States is a melting pool of cultures and shit. But then in how I felt it was like I felt like I needed to be American, you know?
Yeah.
It
The
was it
weird
was it was
it's
a real conflicting moment, I feel like.
it would
And I
no, I
think
think like
Brazil actually helped
yeah.
me like find it a little more. I mean, be grounded in what I am a little more.
Yeah. I feel like a large part of it is because the people, maybe the students that are in public schools, their home is in the States. But people who were from our school, their home wasn't necessarily Brazil. Like they
Yeah, I know.
came from a different country too.
I
So
think it's
we
also to do with the age. Like when I was like first in the States, I was like first grade, second grade. And I
yeah.
didn't really bind myself to like a culture or like a place. And like and at that age when I was like, sent when I well, I wasn't sent there. I went there with my family, but when I arrived in the States, I wanted to make this place, home. But in
Yeah.
Brazil, people were they were like kids who were like who went to like 7 different countries, and they were like only 14, so they were moving. They
Right,
lived
right,
in like a
right.
country for 2 years at a time.
There are
I
a
was
lot
like,
of people like that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I think that made it more acceptable personally in like how I
Uh-huh.
accept myself to be, I don't
Well, it
have to
just
be bound to one place kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, because everybody was came from so
Yeah.
many different places too. So it wasn't the norm to belong to a single place like the States. So it was
Yeah, so I
okay.
really I really liked it. I think that's the
No,
biggest benefit of an international school.
no, wow. So you really took a lot of positive. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
for
I
me,
really took a really big positive from Brazil.
wow.
Maybe like especially the school point part. Maybe not really the public interactions I had, but
The
overall
school
and
part of
in the
really.
school part, I think
I mean,
it's
I think so for me too. I think that's a big positive as well. But I mean, living there for a long time, you see a lot of different things, you experience a lot of different things. But overall, yeah, I think it was a net positive. And I mentioned the personality part. Yeah, I think I just have maybe personality that would have blended less with like Korean general population. And to me, that's Like it just that's not the knock on Korean population personality, but to me that's a positive for me. I think differences are good too.
Oh, I'm not knocking on like, American thing either. I just it was something that I personally had an issue with. I mean, that's not an issue. Like now that I look back on it, I think it was something uh yeah, I guess it is an issue that I couldn't really like come to
You know what? I would take
terms
it
with
back. Maybe
intimately.
what I am saying is a knock on the Korean general population in a way too. I'm trying to be maybe I'm trying to be furtive about it because this might go to the public airwaves too. But I think my experience with the Korean being in Korea and whatnot too, there's just very conformist. I felt, and it didn't
Oh, it's definitely conformist,
allow
yeah.
for as many diversity in personalities as much. I thought, and that could be part of what it is in the people as well, and how the people are too. But I think a large part of it's also the culture too. So yeah, you know what? I guess I'll be straight with it. I guess for me, it's a little bit of a knock on the Korean culture. I do think the Korean population and the personalities in it can tend to be conformist and therefore not as diverse.
You know what
So
was like the weirdest thing for me? This is again, like, we're kind of going back and forth. We should proceed with the result from last time. The now that I like at the moment I didn't, I still don't think it's like a big issue, but
yeah,
when I was in the States, like we always did the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
yeah, yeah.
And then now that I think back, I'm like, why do they feel the need to, do this every morning with like kids from like kindergarten to what, I'm not I don't think they did it in middle school either. They only did it in elementary school.
Yeah.
And I still remember the
Well,
Pledge of Allegiance just because of that.
and that wasn't a positive experience for you.
Oh no, no, it was just like a neutral experience for the most of the time. And then
Oh,
I thought back to it when I
yeah.
was in the military, doing the Pledge of Allegiance as a military serviceman in Korea. And I was like, huh, where did I feel this before? And I was like, oh shit, in
What was
elementary school.
I see. What was the feeling you felt? Just
The feeling I felt was like being forced to do like conform. That was like
conform.
maybe
Uh-huh.
that was why I felt like I needed to be American. I'm sure I mean maybe I'm reading too big into this.
Oh, so you were saying something that you didn't necessarily resonate with and really feel, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, I actually have
Yeah,
a lot of more. I have a
what
lot more beef with America, my experiences in America than in Brazil. So
interesting.
Brazil
Wow.
comes out in a really good light for me.
Yeah, I
I
didn't know.
maybe
I didn't know your experience with Brazil was so positive. I mean, for me, it was positive. I don't know if I associate positive experiences with the culture itself, but it was very positive because of the friends I made and relationships I made.
yeah, that probably has the bigger role for me as well. But
Yeah. But the school experience, you really seem
I
to have drawn a lot of
yeah,
positive
I
from
also
it.
I really didn't like the public school teachers, man. Oh my god, they were oof.
Wow. Damn. So much fire you're spitting.
Yeah, no,
But
like
I
I
think,
think back on it a lot nowadays, and I'm just like, wow,
yeah,
they were horrible teachers.
you do have experience with that. So yeah, you would know better than I would about the public school system there. Interesting. I mean, the teachers in our school were pretty darn good if I look back. But honestly, that was the only school I've attended from elementary to high school. So maybe I don't have a
Yeah,
pretty competitive experience. Anyway, we digress here and there.
yeah, we
But
digress too much.
but
Coming back
this
to
was
Brazil.
going back to Brazil. No, but that was a good conversation. Going back to Brazil. So that was our experience. We lived there for quite a bit, went to school there. Uh I did we talked about deep stuff, but I did want to also ask what kind of food you like. If the food is notable in Brazil, what was your favorite food? If not notable, you can say that too.
Oh, I have two examples. Again, this comes back to school experience as well as the overall actual Brazilian food. Because
Yeah,
school food isn't necessarily Brazilian food,
yeah,
obviously. I actually really like. I actually talked about this with our mutual friend from Brazil
yeah.
recently, and
Oh,
we
nice.
talked about, oh, what food do you miss from Brazil, right? And then because we were like eating some like really old authentic Korean food,
Yeah,
and I was like, it's not authentic Brazilian food, but I really missed.
the feijoada.
No, frango stroganoff or something like that.
Oh yes,
I
they
don't know
don't
why.
make that often
Yeah, but I
here.
really loved
Yeah.
it. Like that was like my favorite lunch in school when it came out.
Oh
Like I would
really?
go for
Oh,
seconds and shit.
stroganoff frango.
Yeah, stuffed frango. I
Yo, you're
really
right.
liked it.
Yeah, it's not a. What is that? What is the
It's
dish?
not
Is that like
Brazilian.
a
Isn't that like Russian or
French,
something? Or like
Russian?
I
Let me
feel like it's like
see.
Eastern Europe.
Oh, you're right.
Stroganoff.
You're right. But they served it so much, and not just in our school, but they served it in restaurants a lot too.
Yeah, it was a lot of there was a lot of it in Brazil, and I've never seen that food in my life.
Classic beef is a Russian dish. Oh, you're right. Oh,
Oh
you.
shit.
Good job.
No, I kind of presumed it from the name Stroganoff. I was like, oh, that's so Russian.
You're right.
Stroganoff.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like what was that Black Widow's name? Romanov.
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 Yeah.
Yes. Nice.
So yeah, that was actually probably my go-to
Stroganoff.
favorite
Wow.
ED
Not
food.
even. You're right. It's not even a Brazilian dish, but it's so popular in Brazil.
I actually kind
It's
of
so
I'm curious
odd.
how that guy's so popular in Brazil. I am actually curious about that as well.
Yeah.
But I think something I learned to appreciate a little more. Like I actually didn't like feijoada when I lived there. I
And
did
you.
not enjoy it. And then
Yeah.
something I came back to Korea and I
Yeah.
started eating like 청국장 and like
Yeah.
those bean stuff more in Korea as well. And then I went back to Brazil to like during college. And then the person who made up with me like took me to a real apparent was she proclaimed to be the best feijoada place in São Paulo. And then
Yeah.
I went there and I was like, oh wow, it tastes really good and I enjoy the taste of it. But then I remember not really liking it when I was a kid. But then I think it opened up a little. I see it in a better light. I feel
Feijoada.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't a feijoada. For those who don't know, is just literally rice and beans. So honestly, it's not that
And chunks of meat.
spectacular. Oh, you're
Yeah, it's like
yeah. There are different types of feijoada. Yeah, and then that'll be one of the types. So the chunks of meat as it came with it, like
oh,
would
and
be like
the chunks of
pork.
meat aren't even that good either. They're not like
Yeah, it's not great. And it's like in
yeah,
this
it's not good
black
meat.
sauce. So for people, I mean, for me, when I first saw it, it's like a black sauce with like black meat. Um, and I haven't, when you see black meat, I haven't really traditionally seen black meat too. So it didn't look the most enticing to me, but
I actually
it
thought
grew on you
yeah, it's
after
interesting
you eat it
because like it's
more.
kind of similar to Mexican,
It is,
bean, but
yeah.
it's at the same time pretty different. Like it's not like the brown. I mean, they in Mexican food use a lot of black beans as well, but
Yeah, but it's not like
interesting to me.
black colored meat that looks burnt sometimes. You just
Yeah,
can't tell if it's like as cooked or not. It's just
it did. Yeah, it did initially turn me off from it, but then again, I did
yeah.
puke when I first ate a bean burrito in the States as well. So who am I to decide? I'm sure people like 7-year-old American kids when they come to Korea and eat chung why can't I even
청국장.
yeah 청국장 for the first time might puke as well. So I
It is
interesting.
different. 청국장 is different.
That is different.
Yeah. So feijoada. Okay, but you would say feijoada was one of your favorite foods in Brazil? I don't think you'd say that, right?
No, no,
It
no.
just grew on you.
Coming back when I after my experiences in Korea, I think I learned to enjoy
You enjoyed
feijoada a
it.
little more.
Yeah,
Uh
feijoada is good with you got for me, you got to eat it with not just the rice and beans, but you got to eat it with the powder. Do you remember the farofa?
oh yeah,
The
that's
powder
good.
made out of the
I don't even know what the fuck
mandioca.
that's still made of, but
I
I
think it's the
like it.
mandioca root. They
I
just
don't even know
crush
what
it.
that is.
So yeah, it's like it was like that chewy potato kind of. I don't know
Oh
if you remember
really?
that, but so I think it's made out of that grinded, and then the espinafre, the green like spinach looking thing. I don't know if you remember that,
I have no
but
idea.
if you put it with that, it tastes pretty good.
No, no, yeah,
But
I remember. No, I know what's powder sauce like that.
the
I know what you mean.
farofa, there's farofa, but there's also the espinafre, the spinach kind of thing.
I don't remember the
That you,
spinach
oh,
thing.
you didn't put that on. That's part of
I
it
didn't
too.
like vegetables to begin with. So I mean, you were in meat heaven in Brazil. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I really love
Oh,
picanha.
the barbecue, the
And
churrascaria.
no, not even churrascaria, like
Not
picanha in
even what?
particular. I mean, I obviously enjoyed like churrascaria.
Yes.
It's interesting. Like, they bring the meat to you and like, chop it up and give it to you. I was like, oh my God, it's like meat
And
heaven
so
here.
many different types of meats and so cheap.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then the reason what I like picanha is because they use
The
I really
fatty.
like that garlic, like that garlic. They roast the garlic in like olive oil or something, and they put it on it. Maybe it was just picanha from our klubi, but
Uh-huh.
I really liked it. And the fact that it was like fucking like 8 real, which would
Garlic?
at the time would be like what $4 for like a big chunk of steak.
Dude,
That was also
picanha was
very
that
nice.
8 reais? It was like
Wasn't it?
16 reais. No, 8
Well,
reais
maybe
definitely no.
stroganoff was 8 reais.
Stroganoff might have been 8
Maybe it
reais.
might have
Yeah.
been stroganoff then. I always order stroganoff or picanha. That's
Picanha.
like the only two things I
Yeah,
order.
I always ordered the queijo, the quatro queijos, the pasta with quatro queijos and the picanha.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but point being, Brazilian food is actually really nice. I think it also has to do with like the the general, what do you call those, like ingredients, quality of the ingredients they have there.
What,
I
you think
just
they're fresher?
Yeah, I feel like they're fresher, at least in terms of like,
Yeah,
I
you
don't know.
say that, but I've gotten some food poisoning here and there, so I don't know if they're always the
Oh,
freshest. But I know what you're saying, kind of. I feel like Brazilian food is just less greasy than American food as well, too.
oh, definitely, dude. American food is super greasy. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was one of the differences I realized when I moved to the States. And Brazilian food, I thought just drier, which means less greasy too.
Yeah.
But there's
Oh
something
yeah,
clean
it
about
is
that.
drier.
Yeah, there's dry. It's dry.
100%.
The rice, well, for sure, the rice between like Brazilian, well, I guess American rice too, but Brazilian rice versus like Korean rice, Brazilian rice is like a lot
Oh, but that's
drier.
like
That's like
pretty
American,
much the
right?
same in like any Latin
Yeah, that's
American, like it's
true.
like a American continental thing.
You're right. Let me see. What else? What else can I say? The meats, maybe because the churrascaria, what they do the meats, they don't put it on a pan. They fry it with olive oil. They just like rotate it on a skewer,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
it's
So
kind of
that
like
might
how they do it
also
with kebabs.
exactly right. Yeah, maybe churrascaria is just Brazilian version of kebab in a way. So that make the foods a little drier. What else? Yeah, I didn't feel like. What are some other traditional Brazilian foods that are
Dude,
dry?
you lived there in 16 years, man.
Yeah, so for me, my favorite foods were like when I think back, and they're not like foods. Well, for sure the Brazilian barbecue, that's really great. I really like that. And what goes into that, I guess, is just the style of how you eat it. You just sit, people come by, slice meat. And I think the way it's cooked too, I guess, is a big part of it too. On a skewer and just rotating. So Brazilian barbecue is one of my favorite, but also pão de queijo.
Oh yeah,
I really liked pão de
I like their
queijo.
pastry a lot. Yeah,
Yes, but and then not the sweet kind, right? The savory
yeah.
kind, the
The
folhados,
cheesy, and then like,
the pastel,
yeah, pastel. Yeah,
pastel.
that's the one I love. It's
Yes,
you
pastel's
know
great.
it's cheap food. Like it's tastes cheap and it's not healthy, I think, but
No,
I
it's because
really
it's
liked it.
highly fried. It's
Yeah.
crispy, and then there's like a cheesiness in the inside.
And then there's that cheap like ketchup that goes on it.
Just ketchup.
It's not even good ketchup. It's like really bad ketchup, but it tastes
Just
so
normal
good.
ketchup. I don't know if you had it with like the I know you say you didn't like vegetables, but around where I lived, they used to sell pastels, and they had this like cut up cabbage with tomatoes, like
Is
kind of
that
like a
where
Brazilian
yeah, I know,
salsa
yeah, I know
kind
what
of.
it's yeah. I liked it. I
Yeah,
like that I liked.
I like that putting down my pastel. That was
Dude, around
nice.
where
That was
you
like
lived is
fresh.
where I lived, by the way. So
That's
I
true, but
feel
I don't know. But I don't know if they didn't always serve pastel there.
no, not in
Uh,
Glubit. No, I'm talking about that
I know, I
mart in
know, no,
front
I'm
of it.
talking. Yeah, I'm
You know
talking
what I'm
about
talking
the
about.
barbecue. Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
always serve pastel there. Maybe
Oh,
when
really?
you were no, they didn't always serve pastel. That was a new shop, but you might have,
Oh,
maybe by the time you came, that was already set up.
yeah. The pastel was always there when I was. That was like my
Oh,
go-to
okay.
pastel place.
Yeah, the coconut water was good too. A coconut
Ah,
water I really liked in Brazil. It was
that was
fresh.
another thing that grew on me. I really didn't like coconut
Coconut
water when I
water,
first went.
interesting.
Like it made me kind of like puke, like a
Oh, even
little
the
like.
one from Brazil. I didn't like coconut water when I first came to the States because it was
Oh
different from
no,
Brazil.
coconut water in the States is even more.
Yes, but
But the
Zico was
one in
pretty good.
Brazil, you know that white pack one that comes like looks like a little carton of milk in Brazil that they sell. That one I really liked.
Well, in our market where they sold it in the
Yeah,
market,
yeah.
you didn't like it.
No, I grew to like it. Like,
You grew
but
to like it.
when I first had it, because that was like
Oh,
my first
really?
time having coconut water.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the only water I had when I was in the States was tap water, man.
Oh, yeah. That was a change for me because in Brazil you pay for water. In the States you don't. They just
You know
get water from the
the
sink
weirdest.
and or they
Yeah,
filter it.
yeah, I know. And the biggest thing that shocked me later on, like
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize it when I was a kid in the States, but later on after Brazil, after Korea, or like after like some business trips there, and I asked for water
Yeah.
in this, and I go to like a restaurant in the States, and it's not a good restaurant probably, and then they'll give me tap water, and it's tap water because it tastes like tap water. I'm just like, are they charging me for this inside?
And they didn't.
But yeah, I'm not sure if they did. I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, different kind of practices in food in Brazil. Like for me, that was a difference with the States. One, water, another thing is tip. Like Brazil, you didn't pay tip, it was included always,
Dude,
right?
tip is
Do you
so
remember?
very unique to America though. Like I know in Europe
Right. And in
they
Korea, you don't
you're
do that either,
Korea
right?
is yeah. I mean, and even in Europe, there's still somewhat of a tipping culture, but it's not like the waiters are dependent on the tip. Like it's just something plus alpha. But and I actually still don't know how that payment, fee salary for like waiters and stuff works in America. But whenever I hear people talk about it, it's like it seems like they're dependent on tips.
Yeah, it's like a
And
big
then
part of their
there's that
income is from tips.
20% like gratuity tip. I was like, 20%? Are you fucking kidding me? Maybe I'm
Yeah.
cheap.
Well,
Maybe,
but that's not included in the receipt when you go to the States, right? They
yeah.
they they
No,
like recommend 20%. But
even
in
that I could forgive. Like, they pointed out for you. But then the biggest beef I had was fucking not including it on like general, products. Like you see it, oh, it's 5.99. I go to the counter and then they add tax later. I was like, fuck, why can't you just put it
right,
on the freaking tag?
that was also different. Yeah, culture shock to me in the States. Not,
But this is
well,
such
not
an
much.
American thing. It's not, this isn't
Like, why not put it
like,
up front, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Brazil does it with upfront. Korea does it upfront. I mean, most of the countries I've gone to does it a particular way, but
I mean,
America,
it makes things seem cheaper. And I guess it's let you know this is not what our product is charging you, but really what the government is
uh,
collecting. So maybe that's the rationale behind it. But yeah, there are so many unique differences that the states have that
I feel like
I
they're
didn't quite
lying to me
experience.
whenever they do that. The tax
Yeah.
says 5.99.
Yeah. Yeah. So what were some of the culture shocks of coming to Brazil? I mean, you've just described Brazil as a
Oh,
very positive experience, but what were some of the culture shocks?
for me, first of all, as
Yeah.
a American,
Yeah.
surprisingly, Americans have this whole personal space thing a little,
Uh-huh.
that touchy feely stuff from Brazil. Like
Yeah.
I mean, like the hugging or like general greetings are like hugs or like like what do you call it? What was that word? To start with a B or something, whatever. The kiss on the cheek thing.
Beijo.
Yeah, and then I was like, what the fuck is this? Why is this person coming near me?
Yeah.
And then that would not fly in the States, obviously. So that was interesting. Another one was I mean, it's just, I mean, it's a little different, the environment that we lived in the States and the one I experienced in Brazil. First, definitely. The well, I apartments being a thing in Brazil was surprising. I thought all Western countries had like 2-story, 3-story houses. So that's pretty,
Really?
yeah.
Where did you live? What state did you live in before you came to
California.
Brazil? What? They had apartments in California?
Yeah, but not like the ones
You
like,
were in the suburbs then.
yeah,
You were
I
in the
was in the
suburbs.
suburbs. I was a suburbs kid, so
You
that was
couldn't.
my fixed stereotype for Western, homes.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I say Western now, but then back then I was just like, that's what home should be,
Uh-huh.
Uh, so that was a thing. Um, see, the thing is, I never really thought America was, dangerous in terms of security or how
Yeah.
I felt. Maybe again, thus maybe because I lived in the suburbs.
Hmm.
But I did notice a big change in that when I was in Brazil. Like the general awareness you have to have around your surroundings.
For
I think I
safety.
became more like, yeah,
Right.
that was
Like,
something I paid definitely more attention to my surrounding, or if this person is like following me, or if this guy looks kind of suspicious.
right, right.
And
When you step out of the residence, you're
yeah, it's because
kind
I
of
think the first or second time I stepped out of the residence, these I'm not even sure if my memory serves incorrect. I think they were probably like the same age as me, but and at first I can't even understand what the fuck they're saying. And
yeah.
then now that I think back of it later on, in my experience in Brazil, once I kind of picked up on them, I'm like, oh shit, they were trying to mug me. So that was a thing too. So it was
Yeah.
weird.
And a lot of our friends were mugged. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of our friends were mugged. So it's like common. So yeah, I agree that I had to be more alert in Brazil. Like for me, my culture shocks would be not like what I experienced in Brazil, but like coming to the States, I realized, oh, this is how it's in the States. Brazil is very different. Like the safety thing is a big one. I
Oh
feel
yeah,
so much
definitely.
safer in the States than in in Brazil, I mean, generally, I don't feel that unsafe as long as you stay within the walls. But like
Yeah,
going past 5 p.m. when it gets dark, it's not advised. You always want to ride a taxi.
yeah, that's true.
Generally, when you can choose to, even though it's more expensive, and not walk on the streets by yourself. Like in the
Mm,
States, I feel like it's okay for me to walk around to transport myself, but not not really so much in Brazil. But yeah, you just get going out in the evening. That you could, I could not do that as freely as I would in the States.
that's true.
Yeah, and the Beijos, you're right. That one, just the physical touchiness and how okay that was in Brazilian culture. I mean, I lived in Brazil for a long time, but even I wasn't like as
No, that really
comfortable
took
with
me by
that.
surprise when I went there in seventh grade, at the
Yeah,
peak
just
of my
hugs are much more okay, and
at
then
the
like
peak of my freaking, hormonal teenage days, these
why did
women
you
are
enjoy
coming in
it?
for a hug. I really
Did,
liked it. I was like, oh my
did you
God,
embrace it?
this culture is lovely. Yeah, that
Oh,
was a big plus for me, Brazilian culture.
nice.
No, but yeah, the whole safety thing, I think that was like the biggest culture shock for me. But it was more of a culture shock. I didn't feel it that bad when I was there. I think it became more apparent because you went to the States after that, and then you were like talking about, oh, it feels much more safer walking at night. I came back to
Yeah,
Korea as a Korean. So
so
I'm
much
like,
safer, huh?
yeah, I could just like walk around with like my wallet hanging out, like stuck to my back, and nothing would happen, kind of thing. So
But Korea is one of the safest countries in the world,
and
right?
the reason I figured it out, I mean, not
Uh-huh.
not being Korea being safe, but then the one of the reasons I figured out, oh, I was maybe not stressed about it, but I was more aware of or my surrounding environment when I was in Brazil was because I was walking with some friends in Korea in like 11th junior year, senior year. I'm probably sure it's
Uh-huh.
junior because I was when I was fresh from Brazil. And then my
Yeah.
friends kept on asking, why do you keep looking back every couple of seconds? And I didn't even noticed
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah, and like apparently I look back every couple of distances. I'm like,
And
huh,
you think that's
why?
from Brazil
I'm like,
habit?
maybe. Yeah.
Oh,
I
interesting.
may
I
be
do that
wrong. I may
too,
be.
but
Yeah.
it's not because of Brazil. It's because I used to drop things so much. So I trained myself to always look back here and there, just
Oh,
make sure I don't drop anything
maybe
behind.
I'm being too, you know, mean on Brazil's safety, but I think it merits. There's some merit to it.
Yeah, maybe the habit you got from Brazil a little bit. I mean, I certainly yeah, was like that and still kind of am like that. Yeah. What did you like most about the culture? Well, actually, you said the Beijos you kind of liked,
Yeah,
but
you say one now.
I did say that too. I think for me also how friendly the people were. People were really like cheery and energetic and friendly in
Oh
Brazil.
yeah, definitely. That
That there was a
was
lot of energy there, so that was really nice. I think when I like talk to, depending on who like when I talk to Koreans, I think people think I'm a little bit more expressive, but if I talk to like a Brazilian, they won't think I'm expressive. So I
but
think
the thing is, like, I feel like it's not too big of a change from an American
really the
expression.
expressive, there's a lot more raw sincerity. I feel with how Brazilian
Yeah, it's a
generally
little more
Brazilian people
bright. I know there's a little
spoke.
more energy or
Like I
like
would call
spunk to it.
Americans maybe like the positivity. If I have to like narrowly categorize it, Americans as like polite maybe compared to
Yeah,
friendly. Brazilians were like very friendly, and then Americans are respectful and
they were
polite.
very like in your face friendly too.
Yeah, in your face.
I
Yeah,
like no
yeah,
as a teen, I really liked that. It felt more inviting, I guess
yeah. There's
that
some.
would
It
be.
felt genuine here and there, although there's a lot of corruption in Brazil.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh, another thing
on the face value, yeah.
yeah, this was a big shock for me coming from the States was that a little more well-to-do families, and the fact that we were a well-to-do family there was also a shock for me, which we were
Brazil,
in the still yeah in the States we were not
relatively, huh?
relatively.
Right. Yeah.
What was that there was a freaking maid that, and it's not the sexual kind of maid,
Yes.
but
Right.
that was
Right.
a shock to me. I was like, who is this lady who was cleaning my room after I come back from home? Like, who are you? Kind of thing. It was
Yeah,
a
that's
real shocker for
yeah,
me.
it's a very regular job in
Yeah, I
Brazil,
know,
right?
and
And then States, right? When it came to States, like nope, not a lot of households have people who clean.
yeah, I was like,
Like
dude,
there's
what is this stuff?
yeah, almost all like so many households that I like my neighbors, a lot of my households and neighbors had cleaning ladies and maids.
No, even in Korea, we don't have like
No, Korea doesn't. And
even
then
like even a lot of Asian countries. There's the whole
Yeah.
concept of a foreign, not a foreign, like a outsider coming into your house like regularly to clean, like almost as like a maybe for like super rich families that is there, but I don't
Right,
think
right,
it's really
right.
that.
For really rich families, I think yeah, you would see that in
Yeah,
the
but in
States. But in
Brazil, it's
Brazil,
not even
it's like
like
a
the
very
really
common
rich
thing.
family.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
very
like
common
once
thing.
you're in like middle
And they would
class,
stay there for like a long time, like 3 to 4
exactly.
hours. Oh yeah. It's a
Like they have
little,
their own like you know like
sometimes, yeah,
the
they would. I think there were some families that had the maids live there too, no?
yeah, there were like rooms
Yeah,
for
there was
them
like
too.
rooms for them in beds too.
It was so
Yeah.
weird for me. I was when they're like that was like one of the biggest culture shocks for me when I came to Brazil. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, I grew up used to that. But yeah, I came to States and I realized, oh, that's not a common thing. And it was very expensive in the States.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was very expensive.
that's a big. That's actually probably the biggest for me
What
because I saw them so much, like the maids, like
in Brazil?
yeah.
Yeah.
Aside from the Beijing and the physical contact stuff,
Physical context.
which again, I
You was very appreciative of
yeah, I was
with
very appreciative. I'm
your
very
home on
appreciative of the
Beijing.
maid thing too. No,
Yeah, I mean parties in Brazil, if you think I think I don't know about you, but the parties in school in Brazil, where I think my perception was they were a little bit more what's the word for it? Promiscuous, I guess,
so I can't
than
be a
American
good
parties.
rep. I don't know because I haven't gone to like a high school experience in America either,
Me
so I'm
neither,
not
but
sure.
it was just I just thought it was like more okay
I mean,
to be
according to
promiscuous in
movies,
Brazil.
those
You're right.
teen
That's probably what
movies
I'm
in
comparing it to.
America,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a little more promiscuous from Brazil.
Yeah, I feel like there
I
was like
feel
more
like it is.
taboo in the movies that you saw if you're promiscuous in at
Yeah, but
least
it was
during
in
my time.
Brazil. Yeah,
But in
it was
Brazil, it was
Brazil.
not
So it's
that
like,
as like it
yeah, it
was
was like, yeah,
more accepted and it just
yeah,
happened
yeah,
much
yeah.
more.
I agree on that too.
Yeah. So that was the difference. Nothing I don't think I think the reason I wasn't as comfortable with is like physical closeness and touchy stuff as much was because I still grew up in a Korean household where that
Oh,
wasn't quite
another big
the
thing. Yeah,
norm.
the physical aspect of relationships, not even talking about sexual ones. Like even in Brazil, when you do sports with dudes, like you like, you know, like you could get it's not like a attraction thing, but you still kind of like touch them when you talk, like, oh, how have you been? Like, pat them on the shoulders or like, stuff
Brazilian,
like that.
you thought
Yeah, in
Brazilians do
Brazil.
that more.
Yeah, but then and I got used to this. And in Korea too. I mean, when you talk, like I could like tap my friend on my his knee and go like, "Yo, you okay?" And when we're sitting down and stuff like that, I
Uh-huh.
think Koreans are a little more actually surprisingly more
You don't do that. Yeah.
accepting of that.
Koreans?
Yeah, than Americans. Because like I remember when I went to the States and I was talking to this guy, and then maybe it was just him, or I've seen a couple of people react so not
Strongly.
negatively
Huh.
but strongly in regards to physical touch between the same sex, especially for men, like men
Yeah,
or
I
boys.
think I can see that. I mean,
So that was
I
like
think
a shock for me. I'm like, for American culture that's so accepting of stuff in general, but I'm like, huh, do they
yes,
see this action as you know being gay in nature and that's why they don't want it, or like I'm not sure what it is. I'm like,
I think
is this something to react so hard on? I'm like, it was a
yeah,
weird
there's
moment.
you mentioned it before. There's more of this like personal space aspect
Yeah.
in the States too. And I mean, employment regulations might be stricter in the States as well. Sexual harassment, just touching. So there might be more stringent as well, which may contribute to like aversion to that a little bit more. But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, like Americans, or the American culture, the physical touchness, not as much as Brazil. But I'm surprised you say Korea. Yeah, I didn't know Koreans were more
Oh no, we're
welcoming of
very
that.
touchy feely.
Interesting. I don't know if I feel comfortable with that. Even at the workplace,
I don't know, not much in the professional place, but like between friends.
like male friends,
Like yeah, someone you know each other, like
male heterosexual
not even
friends.
like too close. Like if I know this person a little, I could just like I wouldn't touch him like inappropriately, obviously, but then as a sign that I'm listening or that I'm understanding of a situation or
It's
something.
like somebody you met for the second time, you do that.
Maybe not the second time.
Well,
Like,
then at that point, you guys are friends. If you're talking about friends, I feel like even in America, you're okay with that amongst friends. You know, if you're
I,
friends, sure. But I feel like in Brazil, you don't have to be friends to do that, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
that's
Brazil's a little
okay.
more way open. That's for sure.
Yeah, with physical touch.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
definitely true. But I feel the whole personal space aspect is definitely a lot more stronger in America. And
Then even in Korea. Then
there
even in
is
Korea.
a reason merit, like I see why. I obviously there are potential issues that could come, like misunderstandings or like how people accept some traits or actions could be different, obviously. And I guess the whole personal space thing kind of makes sure that doesn't happen, doesn't even give a chance for there to be a misunderstanding.
Maybe.
Maybe, I don't
There,
know.
there might just be
But
also be like, my body's my property kind of thing.
yeah,
And
I mean,
you
there,
cannot
I
touch
just
this without my permission.
it was just something I noticed in college.
Mhm. Hello?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, that was my point. It's just something I noticed in college. Yeah,
In college in the States. Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but I think maybe honestly, different states in the United States might have different
Maybe it's because
practices
I
on
went to
that. Because you
college
went
in a
to
more
where?
rural place
Yeah,
in
and it's
college. Yeah,
possible that might be a
maybe.
factor. Yeah, could be. I don't know. Yeah, amongst friends, if I did that amongst friends, I think that'd be okay. I mean, in basketball, like when we play basketball, you slap each other's asses,
No,
like after
even
free
no, no,
throw
even American the sports that's okay, but like in a general like one-to-one, not even one-to-one like
setting.
setting, I think they're a little more
Hmm.
closed off. I mean, it's weird. It's not closed off. They're still very friendly, accepting, but
Yeah. Well,
there's something there.
a mystery to be solved at some point.
It is something I actually think about a lot. Like it was one of the
Really?
reasons I felt in the States, like, oh, they somehow feel closed off. Like, kind of like
Yeah, yeah, a little bit more, right? Yeah, it's a little
yeah,
more
like more
walls
than
up.
Brazil and more than Korea too. I was
Well,
like,
Brazil, yeah,
huh.
that was a big, I think. Yeah, that's why I said polite, respectful versus friendly in Brazil.
Yeah. And that was actually one of the reasons why I mean it's not really that I didn't really feel too
So you
attached to
to this
America.
America, I see. So in terms of experience by country, like if you have to rank them, your experience was best in Korea and then Brazil and then the States, kind of
Oh, Korean experience got better as
over
I got older.
time.
Like in the beginning, I really didn't like it either. Like I was like, oh
So
fucking
so
that one.
I see. So at some point in your life, Brazil was the most positive experience you had in terms of kind of
Yeah, I
living in a
think
country.
so.
Wow. Even when I was in Brazil, I kind of yearned sometimes to be in Korea or the States.
Oh yeah, no, there was a lot of times of that too. But I think in the overall, again, I'm not sure if it has to do with the youth time I spent there. I think that probably has a big effect on it. But I feel like
Yeah,
if I spent like middle school, high school in the States, maybe I'd be more uh accepting. I mean, I'm obviously still
maybe,
accepting of the US culture, but I mean like more I feel I may probably view it in a better light.
maybe. But everything you said about Brazil is true, though. So maybe just really appreciated that. But you did grow up in California, and I am living in California right now, and I really like the States.
I had a
You
lot of bad
know,
experiences when I was a kid too. I got in a lot of fights and all. I think that might also have had a bad effect
or
on my
maybe,
perception.
yeah, maybe
I
so.
still have very, you know, what you may call racist thoughts
Yeah,
about my experience.
did you think the States was more racist
Oh,
or
I thought
Brazil?
States was way more racist. Like
So yeah,
I'm
it's
no,
on.
we talked about this. The states racism in the states is from malice. Like they want it's meant to be mean and racist. But I feel like a lot of times racism
Brazil,
in Brazil, I mean, there was definitely people who were racist for it to be mean, but there were
malicious.
people who was racist just because of ignorance, right? Because they didn't know about something.
Yeah. Right. So like if you hear the word somebody call you a Jap compared to Brazil and the States, I feel like in Brazil it's not necessarily intended as a term of
Yeah,
malice, but in the
exactly.
States it's generally understood that that's a derogatory term that someone's using against you.
So I'm not sure how I feel. I'm like, obviously, they may not. They may be. Yeah, I don't know.
It's odd. It's
it's
odd in a
odd,
country
obviously.
that really decries and and uh, discourages racism. That our experiences, at least,
Felt
was
more racist.
yeah, it
Yeah,
felt more racist in the States compared to
it's weird, right? Yeah,
Brazil.
it was a
It is
really
weird.
really experience.
But that's probably something to Brazil and how the culture is like to make us feel that way, which might be a
Mhm.
lesson for the States as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I did read about this a little bit. And it's still, I think there's still a lot of like I don't know if it's called institutional racism, but there's racism where a lot of different races are not as represented in opportunities, like employment opportunities in Brazil.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely for sure.
in the systems,
No doubt
like
about that.
there might, yeah, there's probably racism, but like experience wise and interpersonal relationships wise, yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's
my
what I'm
experience.
talking about.
Yeah, my
I'm not talking
experience
about
was,
anything professional. I never had a professional experience in Brazil, so I wouldn't know
yeah,
how that is like that part of society is. But
yeah,
just talking about like interpersonal.
and
Yeah.
when we're talking about racism, we're talking about like racism against Asians, that sort of thing
Yeah.
right now, because that's our experience as Asians.
Yeah. I can't say about, racism against other
Yeah, other races as
ethnicities.
much. Yeah, so just from our experience. Yeah, yeah. So if you had to do it all over again,
Oh yeah, definitely.
you live it? Would you bring your children? Would you raise your family in Brazil?
Oh, oof.
Yeah, it's a different question though.
As an adult looking back to, because like as a kid, all like school was the society I lived in, not necessarily Brazil, I feel like.
Yeah,
Did
right, right.
I
Yeah,
see
most of
the
our time was in
issues, and
school.
because I know the big issues in Brazil now. I mean, I've I'm more aware of it, I guess.
Yeah,
And in that sense, I'm like, oh man, I'm not sure if it's like the best place to raise a kid. But then I also look back to my experience, and it came out as a net positive for me. So I'm like, oh,
you know, you're dissociating like the school experience with Brazil, and you're thinking there's a difference. But I am thinking they're actually tied because the barriers of entry for an immigrant to live in Brazil are so much lower than the states. In the
oh, that's
states, you need a
true.
green card,
Yeah,
and it takes a
that's true.
long time. But in Brazil, it didn't take that long.
Dude, I had a green card. I didn't even know, and I got
A
caught in
Brazilian green
customs in
card?
Brazil. Yeah,
You need a
and
Brazilian
maybe
green
not a
card?
green card, but like some kind of like residency card. And then
Yeah,
they
like
were
the
like,
RNE or
yeah, and then I
something.
was like, yeah, I'm visiting. I'm like, we have a residency. I'm like, no, I don't. Like, yes, you do. And then they took me out and they showed it to me. I'm like, oh fuck, I have a residency here.
Yeah, yeah. It's just much easier to get residency too, which then
Yeah,
invites more immigrants and different people from different countries, which then allow for the school that we had as well too. So I feel like it's tied. It
yeah, it's
being in
tied.
Brazil allows for the school experience you had.
I guess so.
Um,
I
so you
still,
would, yeah, would you live there again
yeah,
now as an adult? You would
honestly,
take your family there and live
yeah,
there.
I think in the end,
Really?
any
Wow.
sort of experience was still, be it good or bad, would still, I think, widen their perspective of how they react to issues or
How
how they
long?
see
How long
problems.
would you have your family live there?
5 years.
16 years?
5 years, no.
5
No, not
years?
that long.
I see.
5 years, I think is good. I think the
You know
time I've
what?
spent is just good enough for
Yeah, my answer to
anyone.
that question was going to be no, I would not live there because it's just unsafe, I felt.
What about five
And
years?
yeah, but then you put it to 5 years, and you're right, for the benefits of just widening your perspective, especially going
Yeah.
to an international school, and also just being exposed to a very different culture. I think there's a ton of benefits from it.
I
So
think
five
yeah,
years, and the food is good, so it creates memories as well.
I think 5 years is
Five
generally how
years,
much I spent in any culture. Like I know I spent technically 7 years before I went to America and Korea, but I don't even remember anything about those 7 years too much.
uh-huh,
And my most clearest memories are from the States, Brazil, and like my 2 years in Korea, as well as my plus 2 years in Korea again in the military.
yeah,
And I think that's a good enough place to kind of get your feel around a bit
yeah.
and then widen your perspective at least. Maybe not be too in tone with the culture itself, but you get you get to see a little more in that time span. And if you spend too much time in it, like what I'm doing in Korea right now, I mean, I obviously identify myself as Korean, but I see more negatives. I mean, I'm more,
With Korea,
yeah,
oh,
not
interesting.
negative as like person, but then when I first initially came, I was so much more uh receptive to like the positives. Then
Yeah,
the more time I spend in it, I see I'm reacting more to the negatives and I see like things I
interesting.
would want to fix more and more because I see myself living here longer. But in Brazil and America, I didn't really see myself living there for a long time. And I was like, huh, not
Yeah,
necessarily my place to fix it.
maybe what you're going through right now is what I went through living 16 years in Brazil too.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's weird. It's a weird
being
experience.
there. But
And you lived there as a foreigner too. I live living here as a Korean, so that's I'm sure that has
what do you mean? Oh,
you
just because of my ethnicity or because of my citizenship status?
no in terms of ethnicity and
Yeah, but
acceptance.
there's still a nice community of Koreans
Oh
in
yeah,
Brazil. So
definitely.
so
There was a way bigger community of Koreans in Brazil than when I was in the States. Like
really in
I've never
California?
yeah. Oh no, like there wasn't a community like in the
Dude, where did you
sense of
live in
Brazil.
California? Like,
San Diego, Chula Vista. I can just say it now.
oh,
There was a lot
interesting.
of Koreans, but then there weren't that
Maybe
many.
maybe there were
There
that
wasn't a
many there.
community.
Yeah, but if you went to the Bay Area, I'm sure there were a lot. There have been a lot of Koreans.
Maybe my parents were so keen on giving me the American experience that they, opted not to meet with Koreans. Who knows?
I would
No, but
imagine there'd be a lot of like,
there was a the I say I feel like it's because I'm trying to get my point through that I really enjoyed my time in Brazil that I
yeah,
may have came off as like I really didn't like my time in America, but there are some really good memories of America as well. So
yeah.
just to
Time
round it
for
off.
that would be for another podcast episode.
Yeah,
But you would live in Brazil for 5 years. Yeah, I would live for 5 years. Honestly, though, for
I think I
me, I
would live
think
in any country for 5 years.
5 years, really,
Yeah,
even
maybe not like a war torn country, but like
okay, so somewhat a stable country.
yeah,
You would.
obviously it has
What
to
about
be.
China?
Yeah, I lived in China for 5 years. Huh? Yeah, if I get the chance, I'd still want to do it. I think it's just fun.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? I was listening to the podcast. The Chinese government funds North Korea to be able to survive. I honestly, I don't know, knowing that if I can comfortably live in China under the Chinese government for that long. Could
For
you?
5 years?
Yeah, for 5 years. This is a government that's funding North Korea, that's ruling in a totalitarian regime that's causing a large amount of human suffering.
I know. Okay, the
Would
thing
you?
is, for a 5 year experience, I don't even think
You
that
think
up
you'd
in like the scale. I only think of my personal experience.
experience?
I don't. Yeah, I'm not gonna think about how
Yeah, but the culture is
corrupt the
driven by
government
the
is.
government too, like the culture you live in. I don't know. I think something that doesn't sit well with me. I was listening to a podcast with one like somebody who escaped North Korea and just the condition that they were living in and how much China had a big part in enabling that to happen. Really,
Maybe I'm
really
kind of
got to
dulled out
me.
of it because I've seen so much of it in here in Korea
Maybe.
itself. Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd have to be behind a government that I'm also okay with as well. But I see what you're saying. Like 5 years gives you very like culturally immersive experience to that widens your perspective. I mean, for me, my favorite memories of Brazil are just friendships I made. I think so. If I could find that somewhere else,
Oh yeah, that's
that
probably the
if
biggest.
my
If you could,
yeah, if my
yeah,
children can find that somewhere else too, that I would do that. If that's in the
yeah,
States, if in Brazil, somewhere
it,
else, that's where I'd go probably for the
yeah. In
family.
the end, it's all. I think it really comes down to the relationship you have in that area, and I think the reason why maybe my memories of America is less appealing is because I mean, no, the friends I had at that time were very nice as well and everything. But first, it was before social media, so I had no way to connect with them ever again. And I don't really feel the need to like look into them too much now either. But
Yeah.
I feel like I think I don't know. Maybe I'm not. It was at an age where I couldn't make a deep connection as I could have in like high school.
Yeah, I like
Like
oh right.
elementary,
Yeah,
they
I don't
connection.
keep in
There's still
touch
a
with my element.
connection, but
Right,
yeah,
but
exactly.
you
But
don't keep in touch with your elementary school friends.
yeah,
No.
so I think that's
You're right, yeah.
why I'm more. I look more nicely upon Brazil because the relationships I made there were much more impacting in my life.
Yeah. It does get hard sometimes to distinguish. Is it are the memories that I have of the fond memories I have of Brazil, is it because it's Brazil or because of the relationships I had?
Yeah,
It's a little blurry.
that's a big thing for me too.
Yeah. I mean, if I had the same relations in the States, would I have felt as just as strong as favorably of the States or Korea? I'm thinking the answer to the question is yes. But then I also think, would I have those experiences in the States or Korea or Brazil? I'm like, probably not. Like so many circumstances that are enabled to have that friendship was specific to Brazil, like in international school, living in a walled residence where you're
That was
forced to
weird.
only
Yeah,
hang
that was
out.
so weird for me.
Oh, that was weird. Oh, yeah. That was
That was
really
actually
weird
a
for me when
really
I went
big
to the
weird for
States and you
me.
guys didn't have that. There was like
Dude,
no
that was like,
walls.
yeah, I was like, am I in jail? No, and even the building looks like shit. It's all like
So
just
yeah,
concrete. I'm like,
for those who
I
don't
thought it was
know,
a jail. I was like, what? Am I going to
right?
jail
Because
or
there's like
something? What is
barbed
this?
wire sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know, like it's very common where we lived in São Paulo, which is like the urban, like kind of the New York of Brazil, to have a lot of apartment complexes and then a wall surrounding all those apartment complexes, like 24 apartment complexes, and they've all being circulated by walls. That was very common in Brazil. which is I guess very odd for people who live in the States. But that's what I grew
It,
up with.
mm.
Yeah. But I
I
think
never,
that
yeah, it was
like
weird.
stuff like yeah, but I mean stuff like that like uh makes us hang out a little bit more rather than go out, I think.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
there are a lot of circumstances there. And then I don't think a lot of those apartment complexes in the States had restaurants within like those condominiums. At first, like apparently condominium means something different in the States. First, I thought condominium meant that like this walled like complex and residential
Oh,
area. That was not the case in the States. Condo can mean like a single apartment unit anyway. But it was very common for like apartment complexes in Brazil to have like a common restaurant, so we can all go there as well too.
mm,
So I think there was just a lot of circumstances in Brazil that enabled these friendships to develop, and the fact that there were a lot of expats, people from like
yeah.
conglomerate companies that would come and stay for a little bit too.
I
Uh,
think another thing that I kind of want, I actually met with another person who lived in Brazil, in Korea.
did you know this person before or?
No, no, I met him really recently for the first time in my entire life.
Oh,
And he went to Brazil to, well, apparently for soccer. Like he wanted to,
to play soccer?
yeah, like he wanted to be like a pro player. And then for some reason he went to Brazil.
His parents
Yeah.
sent him to there?
And
Oh
then,
my
well,
god, that's really
no, he
rich.
wasn't even there. He went alone with his brother.
Did he pay for his
Yeah,
trip?
I'm sure he paid for like some sort of like housing program thing, but he
Oh
went to a public
wow.
school there, right? And his
Oh,
experience in Brazil, though the whole security thing and that thing may be the same, but his interpersonal relationships in a public school in Brazil was
very different or
very
similar?
different. And he probably had
He did not have a good experience.
he did not have a good experience for sure. I
Ah,
mean, it may also have to do with the fact that he went when he was already like 14, and he was already like like his brother who
yeah,
went
your
when he was
cultural identity
younger,
is kind of
yeah,
more established there,
was
I
able
guess.
to like adapt better.
Yeah.
But in
Yeah.
general, like he talked about Brazil in a very different light. And
Honestly, I think public schools in Brazil probably don't have a lot of Asians, like
yeah,
people that came directly from Asia in it. And I think what really helped my experience was having, because I grew up in a Korean household, so my cultural values, there was a lot of Koreanness in it. So I think having a Korean community that was going through something similar to me really did help as well.
what's the weird thing? Like in my school in the States, I went to public school, but obviously there were Asians, but I think, especially in middle school, I literally only remember one Japanese kid and then one other
In the
when I
States,
first went there, yeah, in the States, and one other Korean kid, and he was
yeah.
fully Korean American. So I was like, I really felt like me and that one Japanese kid was like the only Asians in the country, in the school. And I
Right.
think that maybe we both really sucked at English too, and I think that's why me and him became really good friends as well. Actually, no, there was two
Yeah.
Japanese kids.
Wow,
And
interesting.
then later on, I
In,
think
In California, there's a lot of Chinese.
yeah, two more Korean kids came in.
Interesting.
Surprisingly, there wasn't any Chinese kids. Maybe I don't remember, but then I don't.
Maybe it was just more in the Bay Area, like San Francisco, that area. Interesting. But you live in San Diego, huh?
Yeah, there was, and I'm not even sure what I could. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Point
So
being,
yeah,
yeah, I think our experience in Brazil is not very representative of anyone else's. I think we were very in a close
I mean, it's
society.
probably representative of our each of our friends. Uh, but yeah, I feel like each race might have had a different experience in
Yeah,
Brazil.
that's true.
Like the Koreans might have had a different experience with Brazil. The
I'm sure
American
Americans had a
white
very different
guys
experience.
that
Yeah.
were in our school, they probably have a different experience
I wonder how
in
like
Brazil.
other South American country people, like how their experience was, like people from like Uruguay or like Argentina.
Probably very different. Like if you remember our school experience, people who came from those different countries and spoke that language very fluently, they hung out with each other
Oh yeah, no, but
like quite a bit too.
that's like I think that's like a part of the international school experience. You
Yeah,
kind of
you
click with your own nationality.
the cliques are formed along racial lines and ethnic
Yeah,
lines.
it's really weird. That's actually
Yeah,
pretty interesting too.
but because those groups, and we didn't always, we had friends that were not Koreans as well too, but generally a lot of the friendships and a lot of friends we had were generally like of a similar ethnic background. But I think because I forgot my point, I think I was going to say something like because you cling together in different ethnic lines and different groups, you do have an experience that you associate with that particular ethnic group within Brazil, and everybody has a different experience
You
because
know what was like the weirdest thing I remember? I remember this American kid asked me, "Why do you like Asians like hang out with each other so much?" And I was like, "Dude,
like you guys,
your core friends that you hang out with are Americans too." And then I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, and then
yeah,
I think back on it, it's probably because we stand out more,
yeah.
but yeah, but I thought that was a really weird question to ask. I was like, "What the fuck? You do that too, man?"
And they all, we have all these different ethnic lines too. But if we're, because it's kind of drawn to ethnic lines, I feel like we were drawn probably also because we had a similar household cultural values, and we all
Yeah, I guess
shared
so,
those.
sure.
Yeah, and when you combine different household cultural values within the same country, it's going to create a different experience for each of those groups. Like Mexican or South American culture in Brazil is going to be different from Korean cultural values living in Brazil. It just creates a completely different set of experience too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in all, I think it was nice, Brazil. Yeah, I live there again.
Yeah. I mean, I have some okay
Maybe not at
memories,
this age, but
but
I'd spend my teens there again.
yeah.
I do want to
Yeah.
visit there again, though, for sure. Before
Really. What would
I
you want to
get
do there?
older.
What would you
I
want to
don't
do there?
know. I just
Did
maybe
you
it's
ever go
just
to Carnaval? I never went to Carnaval. You just hear about this festival where people are like near naked
dude, in
and drinking shit
16
tons.
years?
I've never been. Yeah. I
I've
mean, our
never been
school
either.
would like commemorate it and we would either play
I
the
mean, I've
games
seen
of
it on
Carnival,
TV,
like rolling a blade. Oh, you've seen it I didn't even see it
but
on
I've
TV.
heard so many people like talk about, oh, it's so dangerous. I was
Carnival?
like, oh yeah. So
I didn't hear that. I just heard more like, well, I guess I heard a little bit of that. But honestly, I hear that for every Brazilian kind of trip or whatnot or experience that you might do. But yeah, I was just more like, oh, it's very fun. People get wild in Carnival, and you would just see these women in like very scant dressing with very large ornaments, just dancing, and then there'd be drums as well. That's kind of what the image I have of Carnival. But
oh,
what?
one of the things, this is kind of unrelated, but it's kind of related to Carnival. One
Okay.
of the things that I remember, one of my teachers, my geography teacher in middle school, I don't remember his name, but I obviously my family
Same school
informed
as
me.
me.
No, in America.
Oh, in America. Okay.
Yeah, and obviously my family and or me or someone informed that I was leaving because I was leaving to Brazil, and then he knew, and then he
Yeah.
was talking about like, oh, he talked about Carnival, and he's like, there was a program in the States when I was there called Girls Gone Wild or something, and it was I don't remember
Like a
what the
show
premise was. It
or
was like yeah, it was a TV program, and then it
I,
was
yeah, that
like
sounds familiar.
bikinis and something sexual and promiscuous kind of stuff. And then I
Yeah.
remember him like going like he was such a bro kind of teacher,
Yeah.
the bro type, and he was
Like
always
make
like
sure you go to
yeah.
Carnival, dude.
Yeah, he's like, make sure you go to Carnival, man. I hear Brazil is like 24/7, 365 days a week. Like girls gone wild. You got to experience that, kid. And I was like, yeah, okay, middle school
This is your
teacher.
middle school teacher telling you this.
Yeah,
But don't do it in the States. But you can do it in Brazil.
yeah. I was like, yeah, okay.
And you never went. Would you? Yeah. So what would you want to do when you come back to Brazil? For the food, for sure. Pão de
For
queijo.
sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
forgot
think
to explain what pão de queijo is. Pão de queijo is a type of bread that's mixed with cheese, and it's crunchy on the outside, and then when you open it, it's like this cheese kind of like spreads. It's like a
is
doughy
that
cheese.
Brazilian? I'm not sure.
Pão de queijo is Brazilian.
Oh, really? I feel like so
Maybe
many
you're
other
wrong. I say that so
yeah,
confidently because I only had in
maybe
Brazil.
some European. I feel like maybe something that came from like Europe or something.
Oh no, I'm gonna check this right now. That's
Yeah,
crucial. Pão de queijo is so
but
associated with
yeah,
Brazil.
it is something I do
Every
like.
Brazilian steakhouse I go to, and not every,
Yeah,
but a lot of Brazilian steakhouse I go to in the States, they serve pão de queijo. And I
it is
assume it's
something that
because
screams Brazil. That's for
or
sure.
Brazilian cheese bread. Yeah, pão de queijo is
Oh,
Brazilian
okay.
cheese bread. I can see why you say that though. It's such a simple concept. Just mix
Yeah.
cheese and bread and you get pão de queijo.
Another this probably isn't Brazilian. I feel like it's probably French or something, but there's a
What?
dessert called petit gâteau or something.
Oh,
And
you're
then
right. They serve that so much in
and I love that
Brazil.
so much too.
But
And
it's not
I've been
Brazilian.
trying to find something like that in Korea, and it never comes out to what I want it
Is
to
it
be.
what is it? Petit gâteau is just basically hot bread, like hot
It's
brownie,
like brownie with
and then
like chocolate
ice cream,
cream and with vanilla ice cream on
vanilla
top.
ice cream. You
Yeah.
can just
It's
make
really
it,
simple
just get
concept.
brownie and just get a vanilla ice cream. That's all you
That
do.
was actually my favorite dessert.
Really.
Yeah.
What about the lychee thing? Like the really
Oh,
soft, like pudding,
I
like
didn't like that.
lychee. You like that? That was
I,
that,
I
that was
don't I
pretty
don't like
common.
pudding in general to begin with.
What about the banana? The really really soft banana, banana milanesa. I think that's what it was called. It
I
goes like this
actually
melted banana. Do you remember that one?
I like the fried ones better.
Yeah. Oh wait, I think there was a fried one, but I don't
Yeah, there is a
remember.
fried banana. And
Yeah,
that was also a shock for me. I was like, why the fuck would you fry a banana? But then
it
it
was
was
good.
good. I was
So
like,
soft.
why is this good?
Yes. Oh, the food. We should have talked more about the food.
No,
Banana
I really
milanesa.
like my concept of pizza also changed when I was there. I realized how
Oh,
limiting Americans were in their perception of pizza. And then I
the
went to Brazil. I'm
pizza
like,
is drier for sure in Brazil too.
oh, it's definitely drier. It's thin. It's
Yeah.
smaller. It's thinner. It's like it's more of the Italian style of pizza, and then it's much more diverse
Yes.
too. You know?
Like different kinds of pizza. The
Yeah.
Portuguesa pizza, man, the Americans need to pick up the Portuguesa pizza. Do you remember the Portuguesa pizza?
No,
It was
if I
like
think back on it, the American pizzas are so
what?
primitive in a way. It's so like confined in its
Really?
thing. I feel like I don't know, and
I,
especially the
I
toppings that you go on top. Like,
I feel like it's just different. Well, I mean, I guess you don't generally American pizzas don't generally serve egg on it, and then
yeah,
but they do have
I mean
onions,
there was
right?
fucking anchovies on pizza in Brazil. I hated that personally, but I
Oh yes,
remember
yes, it
seeing
was diverse that way. What was your favorite pizza
that
in
was
Brazil?
chocolate pizza for God's sake. That was
Yeah,
also
but
really weird for
honestly
me.
though, Koreans do pizza pretty creatively too. Like in the crust, they put like sweet potato fillings sometimes, right?
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah. I think cultures can get it just generally can get creative. And Americans have their own creative brand of pizza, I guess. But it's just different. Like you don't see Korean pizza in Brazil. You don't see
That's
that
true.
sweet potato filling.
What I thought about
But
was
yeah,
like
chocolate was
because
nice.
if like a type, let's say a food was imported, like
Yeah.
Korea, it's not Korean pizza. It's definitely not originally Korean. I think I mean the best way to put it would be like you could think outside the box to do what the fuck with this pizza, and they could just try whatever they want with it.
Yes.
But then once it's a food from your respective culture, there's still an outline of what this food is supposed to be, and then you're kind of confined to it. And that's what I
Uh-huh.
thought. That's what I thought was the reason why American pizza was so simple all the time. But I thought about it, I'm like, pizza's not even American. That's fucking Italian. And I'm like, why are they so confined to this one,
But you
cheese, tomato, pepperoni
pepperoni,
concepts?
yeah, those are the most common ones.
Yeah, that was like a weird. That was a
No, but
weird thought
also
I
maybe
had.
you just didn't try as many pizza places. There's a lot of different kinds of pizza here in the States,
Oh
which
yeah,
I
yeah,
start
sure.
to
I
appreciate.
remember.
But maybe, yeah, because you probably ordered from like Domino's and Pizza Hut. You didn't quite
Oh no,
experience that.
I went to my neighborhood one.
Local
I
pizza.
remember. Yeah, it
I'm
was like
pretty,
some
yeah, but
mushroom.
different stores offer different kinds of pizza as well. And then, there's like a brand of like New York pizza. I don't know if you've ever had like a some pizza that markets themselves as being like New York pizza. That tastes different as well. And the Chicago also has like a brand of pizza like deep dish
Oh
pizza.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty diverse. You might just not have had time to experience all of it. Remember what the pizza that we had in Detroit? That was pretty good.
Oh yeah.
It
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
different. Yeah, it tasted a little different.
It had that sweet and salty taste to it.
Hmm.
I don't know what.
That
And
was not my experience.
I know. I
I remember the
remember
crust being good though.
I remember tasting that saucy. I was like, oh, this sauce tastes so
Sweet and
familiar.
salty.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know what pizza you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, we definitely ate the same pizza.
Yeah, I
So
don't remember yeah, it was probably I thought it was a pretty generic kind of pizza, but it was made a little different. It just felt it was a nice pizza. Anyway, what pizza is your favorite from Brazil?
I actually surprisingly really like the chocolate pizza.
The chocolate pizza. That was
Weird
pretty
for me,
good.
but I actually really liked it.
It was just chocolate and some of the sprinkles of the chocolate, right? That's all it
And
was,
then,
right?
yeah, and then there was that banana pizza too. I was like, fuck,
Yes, yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever they think of, they put it on pizza and make it. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that was
And
good.
then they had this whole
You
day
didn't
where they just food like served pizza, and then there's like so many weird pizza. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Portuguesa was nice.
Yeah, Portuguese. I'm
Obviously
surprised you didn't mention that. Portuguese
the
pizza.
classic margarita is nice as well.
Well, yeah, but you see margaritas everywhere.
Yeah.
Portuguesa, for those who don't know, is a pizza. But it has cheese on it, but also I mean there's a version without cheese, but there'll be ham in it, like sliced thin, not thinly, but
Yeah, it's really thin
diced,
ham.
really
Yeah,
thinly diced ham with onions and eggs. And what else am I missing? Is that pretty much it?
I think
Yeah,
so.
like cooked
I mean,
eggs.
obviously there's like tomato sauce on it, I think.
Was
Is there?
there?
Probably.
Oh, let me actually look up the ingredients. Portuguese pizza, I really like. Portuguese pizza. Pizza portuguesa. Oh, it is a Brazilian specific pizza.
Oh, it
But
is?
like, but then why don't America? You know what? Maybe I should open up a pizza shop in the States
Yeah,
based on
bring in all
Brazil.
the menus from Brazil.
Yeah, like why is this not a common dish
But I feel like
in
Americans,
the States?
again, like maybe I have a really bad perception of America,
Sounds like
but I
it.
feel like they're not accepting of these either. Like fucking they go ape shit for like fucking pineapple on pizza. They're gonna go ape shit if you
You're
put an
right.
anchovy on a
Did you
pizza
go
and
ape
serve
shit
it to
on
an
pizza for
American, they're
pineapple?
gonna fucking beat you up or something.
Yeah, we don't have that debate in Brazil, like
Yeah, in
putting
Brazil,
pineapple.
it's a fucking like flatbread. Just put something on it.
Dude,
Boom, pizza.
that is such a prime example of confining yourself and like
Yeah, American really
creative
confine themselves.
rigidity in
And
pizza.
for a country that really,
Touch
puts itself out
creativity.
as like all encompassing melting pot
Yeah.
of culture, everything is accepted. Like they combine
Yeah,
themselves
don't
so
put
much
borders on
sometimes.
pizza like that.
I was
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Dude,
it's those little things. I'm just like, oh, that's so,
you're right.
what
Yeah,
do you call it?
people get
What's that
really
word?
like
With H?
yeah, people get really worked up about
Hypocritical?
pineapple.
Oh, like,
Hypocritical. Yeah, there's a lot
yeah,
of I don't know about hypocritical, just definitely contradiction though.
yeah.
You're right. That is a dude, these are astute observations. Yeah, why
And I
do we
think the
get so
biggest
worked
beef I
up?
have it, I think the biggest beef I have it is because America so much they put so much emphasis on their like acceptance or creativity and stuff. But
50
then no other country does that. No other country goes like, oh, we're the most creative country in the world. We're the most melting pot of the
we're
world.
the
But
most
then
innovative and whatnot.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then but then America puts that out as like their marketing motto. But then you see
Things
obvious
like
moments
pizza
of it.
just
Yeah,
destroy
pizza is
that
just
principle, just topples that
exactly.
institution
It's
all the
not
way
a big
down.
deal, but it's those little things. These little things in any other country, I'd be just like, meh. But it's because America just like
Yeah, so
emphasizes that so
loudly
much that it
takes
comes
that.
out. It becomes more like, why are they doing that kind of thing for me?
Yeah, surely there is a contradiction here and there. Um, yeah, I mean even racism was one of the things too, right? Like, so discouraging and so decrying of racism, and you're trying to fix that. But we go to Brazil and you see less of that rhetoric, and interpersonally at least it feels less racist
Yeah,
too. It's interesting. But yeah,
it's weird. The feeling of the whole racism thing in America and other countries is this feels like a different topic almost, like a different.
right, like discussing in the
Yeah,
States is different from
it's
discussing
weird.
in
Yeah.
Brazil. Yeah, but I guess that just makes it very specific to the country's history too. It
Mm.
is,
Like
yeah.
Brazil, honestly, they didn't really have a better experience with slavery and racism and that stuff than America.
Did
Actually, I don't
they?
know. I'm not
Well,
sure.
no. Well, I mean,
I feel
Brazil
like
went through slavery.
as
Brazil went through
close.
slavery
I think Brazil might be as close as you could get to
to American history in
yeah,
slavery.
American history in that aspect
Slavery.
to like any other country in the world. I may be a
Oh,
stretch because I don't know too. I'm not too well informed of Brazilian history.
yeah. I mean, Brazil went through. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of not racism, but slavery in Brazil as well too, and quite a large
Yeah,
history with it too. And we went through the emancipation process as well, abolishing slavery, plantations as well in Brazil.
but
Maybe we're not historians, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and
maybe
I
from
feel like I'm
before.
not in. So another thing that I feel like I shouldn't even be talking about this sometimes. I'm like, who am I to talk about this issue when I'm not maybe directly related to the topic now? So it's weird. It's a
Yeah,
weird
but
topic. Talking about racism with the quote unquote American is it was very weird for me.
yeah, because you probably experienced it outside of the country, so it's different. And
Yeah.
then I just feel like racism manifests itself in the experience of it. It's different depending on the culture and its history and whatnot too. But yeah, but there are parallels between Brazilian history and American history. I just wonder what that, once, what between when slavery happened as well too, And there are a lot of Asian immigrants in Brazil, right?
Yeah, there was a
There's a
lot
lot
of
of
Japanese
Japanese,
people.
right? There's also a lot of Asian immigrants in the States too. But I just, I'm not, this was, I guess this is where my, I'm not really interested in history usually, but now I'm getting interested in history. But I wonder what happened in the events to bring about the culture that we see now, despite some of the parallel elements we see in the origins and history of immigrants and different races in Brazil and the States. Maybe I should explore that. I wonder if somebody did that comparative historical analysis. But you're right, there are a lot of parallel elements, I think,
There is a
too.
lot of parallel. Like I'm
Yeah,
not
between
even I
Brazil and
don't even know
America.
Brazilian history that well, but I could already pick up on some parallels.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone who is much more well educated on this section
Yeah, they could
probably
probably
has
speak
done a
about it
way
more.
better analysis on this. Or I'm sure there's probably papers on it somewhere in
I'll
the digital
probably, I think I
ancient.
might look that up and research that. It's very interesting. There's a lot of parallels. Yeah, but it's very odd. Hmm. Anyway, I just looked at Portuguesa pizza and I was right. It's hard. Yeah, yeah. I was missing the olives. Apparently, olives can go on Portuguesa pizza.
There's no tomato sauce?
There's no tomato sauce. It's a spread pizza sauce onto
Oh yeah,
crust. So I
that's
guess
tomato
yeah, you're
sauce.
right. There is tomato sauce. Yeah, I remember. You're right. There's tomato sauce or
Yeah,
whatever they call
it would be
pizza
way
sauce.
too dry without that.
There were some dry pizzas in Brazil. There were some dry pizzas.
Oh man, I want that gooey banana pizza now.
A gooey
Haven't had
banana
that.
pizza with the
Yeah, haven't
chocolate.
had. No, no, no. They were separate pizzas, weren't they? Oh, was it
Sometimes
one?
they would top it with bananas. I think.
Oh, yeah, they were
Not
so
chocolate.
creative with their pizzas, man.
They're
They're
so
handed
good.
to them.
I'm telling you, the states can get pretty creative with pizza
I'm
too.
telling you, it was like an absolute shock for me when I saw these pizzas. I was like,
And you use fork and knife in Brazil for pizzas.
oh
And
yeah,
then when you do that in the states, people look at you weird. People think that's very odd.
such primitive beings.
No, I like cutting my pizza. You just get your hands less dirty.
No, I'm saying America's being primitive using their hands.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yo, yeah, I am supporting that statement. I am
Yeah.
backing you there. Uh, yeah, that itself is a contradiction too, because sometimes people would ask like, oh, what was it like living in Brazil? I remember stories of people telling me that sometimes people ask, do you live in trees or whatnot?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
But it is a less developed country in terms of like economic standards and than the States. So many contradictions in some of the concepts you're saying.
Yeah, Brazil is a very interesting country, honestly. It
Oh
really, really
yeah,
is.
you could say that about the States too,
But
as
okay,
we've
the thing,
already explored.
yeah, no, but the thing is with the States, they express it a lot. Like they go, oh, there's that Americanism thing, the whole like we're special, we're the best kind of thing. But then I don't, that's so unique to America. But then, and so you have this perception that America's unique, and then
I
it's a mix
wonder
of
if it
cultures.
also has something to do with how individualistic the culture is. Like you would think America, I think generally it's understood that Americans have a more individualistic culture than a more communal culture than like Asian countries, some Asian countries. So I don't know if that has something to do with the the tooting of like, we're the best country of achievement and
Maybe
whatnot.
that's the
Language
Asian
like
in
that
me.
is like
Yeah, that whole like
native with the
American
States.
centrism that really doesn't sit well with me nowadays. I'm like, God, they're
Really.
so cocky, Maybe that's like maybe I've been in Asia too long.
We call it confidence here in the States, okay?
I call it arrogance now.
There's probably a little bit of arrogance. I mean, wait, was no, would you call American an imperialist country and back in this? I guess they're yeah, I think
I mean,
right.
they had a lot of
Yeah, I
imperialist
mean you would
moments.
invade different countries too, but I mean to be an imperialist almost implies you were cocky, right? You think your country
Yeah,
has the right to conquer other countries, and
I mean, American
America went
imperialism was definitely different than the
like
majority of other
European
imperialistic countries.
imperialism. Yeah, I feel
And in Korea, the perception of imperialism is different because our imperialist, enemy was
yeah, I don't know if
Japan in the
you
case.
yeah,
So
I don't
it's
know
a
if you'd
little
call
different
what
even with the
yeah,
Japan.
yeah, I don't I guess
American
we
imperialism isn't really
you,
imperialism in like the
yeah, you might not
traditional
like the
sense, I
pure
think.
sense. Like you might not call
Yeah.
what like American, I don't know if you call it colonialism or just like
I mean, but if you think about it, if what they did to the Philippines, I mean, that's pretty much straight up imperialism almost.
yeah, but we don't call it imperialism, but something else. But yeah, there's like a similar element to imperialism that like if you go to another country and say our culture is the best and try to push to your culture or
But yeah, that's
or
the thing.
beliefs
I see that
onto
most with
other countries.
Americans. Like
No,
I don't
but
know.
that's because it's we're in the time right now too. But before John, like it was other European countries that did that, like the
I'm sure.
British,
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
Yeah. So maybe if we were living in those times, we might feel that way too. But maybe it's just now, like. But yeah, I guess we don't call it imperialism. I don't know what we call it, but whatever is happening right now, where there's ideas being spread around and saying like this is how it should be, and you go to invade another country and say you gotta adopt this and this. That's that the similarity with imperialism would just be like you going feeling like you would have the right to go to a different country and say this is how you should
Man,
do things. But I mean, then you talk about that stuff and you're like the United Nations does that a little bit, right? As a committee, they go like, this is what the country should do as well. But I guess the difference there is like they're doing it as a committee and not as like a single country.
weird time we live in, man. Weird time.
Well, United Nations existed way before. So
No, I mean in general, I'm thinking like from the 1940s and onwards. I feel that as one era of time so far.
yeah. Did you read this book called Sapiens? Have you heard of it?
Yeah,
Oh, you read it.
I didn't read that one. I read the other one. What was it? The Homo sapiens. Wasn't there like three books similar to it by the same author?
Really? Maybe. I don't know. But his most famous one is probably Sapiens, A Brief
Yeah,
History of
Sapiens is the famous
Humankind.
one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did. There's so many people recommended it to me, but then for some reason, when people recommend
I
things
think
to
you'd
me,
like it. You go like, oh.
I sometimes don't read it just out of spite.
No, dude, some of your astute observations, I feel like I'm sure he makes not to be critiquing of you, but like I'm sure his astute observations are maybe deeper than yours, but I feel
Oh,
like
obviously, I
but
think,
but
dude,
some
if
of
he's
your
gonna write a
no, but
book, it
some of
better
your
be deeper than me.
no, but dude, your astute observations sometimes I feel like are book worthy. But I guess you just have to have a larger collection of them to make a whole book out of it. But I
Yeah,
feel
dude,
like
I told
giving
you, I'm shallow and wide, not deep. That's my motto in life.
shallow and wide, I see.
Yeah,
Your
shallow
your
and wide.
your needles prick sharp, but not deeply, but they're
My
sharp.
my my ocean is going to be very shallow. You can't even scuba dive in that shit. That's
Yes,
how I
but
view things.
your I feel like your observations can be very sharp and astute. Anyway, because of the nature and the kinds of observations you make, I feel like you would really resonate with what he's
Uh,
saying.
Maybe I
Um,
should read it. You're probably like the 30th person to recommend that book to me.
but anyway, one of his points was like us as hunter gatherers before we even had farming was probably
Mm.
when we were much happier too.
Oh
And
yeah, and that yeah, I've heard that before. I've definitely
yes,
heard that book before too. So
yeah. So yes, indeed, the times are different. Maybe we had happier times. And some of our happy times, to go tie it all back, were in Brazil as well.
what a great way to bring things around, Mr. HD, high definition.
Thank you. I feel like we should have talked more about food and what we'd have done in Brazil, but I think we
We could
should.
have a whole different section for food. I mean, you've been to a bunch of different countries as well, so I think food in itself could merit a own episode. I think
That's true. But I feel like if we talk about food, we should make it more visual. Like I should like start
you should start
showing
cooking
different
and
food.
then
No, well, no, just go to a website. I should probably like go to websites and show what foods look like, and that should probably be part of the podcast too. Maybe I can do that. You probably do that. I can probably share my screen here and there. Um, yeah, maybe we can do that at a different time. But I think there's so much more still to talk about Brazil. Like we only talked about what we would do if we went back there. But I mean, I would love to also. I've never been to the Amazon in Brazil. I don't know if you have, but that's like something I would love to do in Brazil. But honestly, now I'm too old. I don't want to die. And I feel like I
you're not
feel like
gonna
when you're younger,
die.
you're a little bit more reckless and you're just
Oh, that's
less
true.
you're
That's
more
definitely
dismissive
true.
of like dangers and risks. But now I'm a little bit more aware. I don't know if that makes me more scared, but it makes me more hesitant at least. But I would have like Brazil would have been nice.
I'm always so hesitant to talk
I'm
about
sorry,
like
Amazon would have been nice. You're hesitant what?
countries,
You're hesitant
like
to talk about countries?
other cultures and countries, because I feel like I could never encompass like I mean, I obviously they won't even expect someone like me to represent everything, but it's because I feel like my experiences are always so limited to myself that
You go through the culture full representation or just
yeah, that I just might do more harm than good for that culture. And obviously
honestly, I think we should just accept the fact that whatever we say about the culture, by default, we should assume is a misrepresentation of the culture
yeah.
because we don't have the complete picture. It's all based on our personal experience. Yeah. So whatever we said about Brazil, please note that that's just based on a personal experience, and it's definitely probably not a full and accurate representation of it. But nonetheless, I think it's still something valuable to share. Uh, cool. All right, why don't we wrap this up, dude?
Yay.
Thanks for joining me on this podcast. I think we
Thank
spent
you
about like
for
almost 2
talking about
hours.
this. I like talking about Brazil.
You do? Wow, I didn't know this. There's
It was
definitely a
like
lot of
it was
things I
a, it
learned
was a
about you. It
good portion of my youth that I very
was
much
only
enjoyed.
very much enjoyed. It was only 5 years for you, so I was like, oh, it wasn't that long for
5 years in
you.
your teens is a
It's huge, right?
it's a
Yeah,
huge time, man.
you're right. You're right. If you think about your formative years, you probably have
Like 5 years in elementary school is like nothing compared to 5 years during like middle and high school, I feel like.
You're right. I think you're right.
Because I think
Yeah.
at that stage in life, you're probably more, affected by your family rather than where you live and stuff.
When you mean when you're younger?
Yeah.
Right, right. You don't
No.
explore the world as much when you're
Yeah.
younger, I guess. You stay within the safe,
You're very
safe
confined to your
confines.
family.
Yeah, you're right.
I think that's when you like in your teens is when you first start, experiencing outside your family world, and you see that as
Yeah,
you being part of it.
and you're so much more, and you get because you're exposed to so many ideas, like
Mm.
how impressionable you are, really starts forming your identity. Your
That's why I
value
think Brazil
perceptions.
resonated with me very well.
Yeah, I guess maybe the relative time you spent in Brazil might really explain why you felt it was that significant and positive compared to me, because that's kind of
Yeah.
all I knew from 2 all the way to like 18. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I learned quite a few things too, and I think a lot of great things, a lot of wise things you said as well too. That Hawaiian pizza thing, man, that comment, wow,
I never understood
what an
why.
insight about how Americans critique food and
I know
why
that's
they get
such
so
a
worked up about it.
I know it's such a insignificant thing, but yeah, I just
Dude,
for a country that plays itself off
dude,
like
we
that.
we
I'm
talk
like,
about it at work too. It's such a prevalent topic, and I'm like, it's not that big of a deal, but
I'm
then you
like,
buy into
pizza's
it.
pizza, goddamn it.
Your pizza's food. If it's good, it's good. You enjoy it.
Yeah.
There's no tradition. You shouldn't bring in traditional boundaries to saying this is how it should be when every culture does it
Who is it?
differently.
Who are Americans to talk about pizza culture, man?
Yeah, it's not even theirs. Like pizza was born in a different country.
For a country that really likes their,
Great, yeah, it's creativity, freedom.
creativity. It's a very interesting country. That's why I like talking about America too.
I mean, there's
I
a
mean,
lot
I,
of
I may
contradiction.
come off as like not really liking it too much, but it's really fun. It's a really interesting country, that's for sure. I'm like, wow, it's so.
Yeah, I mean, our politics are contradictions themselves.
I mean, politics in any countries, I think it feels like
oh yeah,
contradiction.
I guess you're right.
That's very American. Oh, I hear you, doggy.
Yeah, should probably go. Dog probably misses me. All right, dude. We'll do something else maybe. Maybe we'll continue this topic again sometime.
Okay.
But great conversation. I'll talk to you later. Have fun. Stay safe.
High definition. You too. Stay safe. Have a nice week.
All right. Let me stop the recording. Bye.